disciples were on their way,
he entered a certain village
where a woman named Martha opened her home to him.
She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said.
But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made.
she came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself?
Tell her then to help me.
But the Lord answered her,
Martha, Martha.
Martha, Martha.
Martha, Martha.
Martha, Martha!
Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things.
But few things are needed, or indeed only one.
Mary has chosen what is better,
Which will not be taken away from her.
We have a video clip that we'd like to start the sermon with. It comes out of the book that they made a movie of. It's called Eat, Pray, and Love. Julia Roberts, if you know the star, was in it. It's not necessarily a Christian movie, but we think this clip speaks to the idea of what does it mean to reduce our stress, reduce our anxiety, reduce our distractedness, and focus a little bit more on Jesus. See if this clip says something to you.
I've been in Rome for 3 weeks, and all I've done is learn a few Italian words and eat.
You feel guilty because you are American. You don't know how to enjoy yourself.
I beg your pardon?
It's true. Americans know entertainment, but don't know pleasure. I'm serious. Listen to me. You want to know your problem? Americans, you work too hard. You get burned out. Then you come home and spend the whole weekend in your pajamas in front of the TV.
That's not far off, actually.
But you don't know pleasure. You have to be told you've earned it. You see a commercial that says, it's Miller time. And you says, that's right, now I'm going to buy a six-pack and drink the whole thing, and wake up the next morning and you feel terrible. But an Italian doesn't need to be told. He walks by a sign that says, you deserve a break today. And he says, yeah, I know. That's why I'm planning on taking a break at noon.
We call it dolce far niente. It means the sweetness of doing nothing. There are masses of it.
Practicing the sweetness of doing nothing. Hey, just for the fun of it, not this week's, but last week's Time magazine had an article on death cleaning. Death cleaning. It's the cleaning that you do just before you die so your family doesn't have to deal with all your stuff. They got a term for it. It's called death cleaning. And the point of the article, and it's just a short article, is that many people are discovering that that's what they ought to be doing now, rather than wait to that last moment. But here's what I just brought it to your attention to say, the stuff that we're talking about right now, it's around the world. This idea of reducing stress, managing our time and so the priorities are in order, of making sure the relationships are lifted up to the highest degree, reducing debt so that we can be more generous with who we are and what we are and with our time and our money and our freedom of being able to say, I can do that for someone else. So we're not talking about stuff that you probably haven't heard. We're not talking about stuff that you probably haven't thought about. We're not talking about stuff that you haven't opened the closet and go, one day I got to get in here, right? You know, can I tell them this? Yeah, okay. Roxy, pardon me. Roxy got into one of her drawers. It's her underwear drawer. And started pulling stuff out. Like she had my 22 bullets for my rifle. I hadn't been able to find them for a long time. Why are they in there? And she found stuff that her grandmother had given her in her underwear drawer. And she found some antique coins that someone had given to me in her underwear drawer. And she found money. Oh, the kids go, when you die, you guys can all mess with everything else, but we get Mom's underwear drawer. But since we started this series of sermons, she's gone from closet to cabinet to drawer, and has been doing some of this death cleaning, just cleaning things out, getting rid of stuff. How many else have been doing a little of that? I've heard, yeah. Okay, well, I'll let you know now, be careful. Someone has agreed, there's a small group out there that has agreed to do the garage sale. And so we're going to do a church garage sale. So start gathering your stuff and getting your ready stuff around. And so eventually we're going to have to figure out, if people are going to donate some big furniture, we got to have some guys who are going to haul that to the church and all that kind of stuff. So pay attention to some of these announcements coming, but we're going to do it. So when you start cleaning out your closets, don't get rid of it too fast. Hang on to it for just a little bit. Now, I say all of this to say, but we come to this time of how do we reduce our stuff? How do we think about our money different? How do we think about our time different for a particular reason? And that particular reason is more focused on my relationship with Jesus. How does reducing my stuff reduce my management of things? Because let's face it, some of us spend an enormous amount of time moving stuff. Right? If somebody comes over to your house, you move stuff, right? Manage it. And you box it, and you store it, and you get it out, and you put it back. And we spend so much time managing stuff. What happens if we do some of that stuff and give that time to Jesus? Some of us spend a lot of money buying the stuff, and some of us can't afford some of that money, and therefore we can't be as generous to Jesus as we want to be or would like to be because we just don't have it to be generous about. What would happen if we would reduce some of that stress? And God would say to us, can you help? And we could say, I absolutely can, because I have placed margin into my budget. And what about our time? How many find themselves busy? Busy. And what happens if we rearrange our priorities of our time where that busyness is reduced and we give that time to Jesus and build into our lives this intimate, passionate, life-changing relationship? So although I'm not telling you anything that you don't know or anything that other people haven't said to you about how to reduce stress and how to manage your money and all this kind of stuff, what I want to suggest to you is, can you think in terms of doing it for the purpose of being with Jesus? And that's why the Martha story is so incredibly great. Jesus comes to Martha and Mary's house. We assume that this is same Martha and Mary who are the sisters of Lazarus. If you know the story in John where Lazarus dies and Jesus comes to see Lazarus who's already dead, he runs into two sisters, right? Martha and Mary. And so we're assuming it's the same ladies. He's built some kind of relationship with this family, and he's come and he's sat with them. And there's two responses to the presence of Jesus. Mary, who sits with Jesus, and Martha, who is distracted and anxious about many things. How many would say, you know what? If you asked me to pick one of those ladies, I'm probably more of a Martha than I am a Mary. Huh? I find myself busy and distracted by many things. Here's all the different translations, how they would say that. You are worried and distracted about many things. You are anxious and troubled about many things. You are worried and upset about many things. The Message translation says it this way: you're fussing far too much. Anybody? Liars. Come on. Fussing about too much. Right. Fussing about too much, getting yourself all worked up for nothing. And here's what I want to suggest. For most of us, we don't recognize that in our effort to capture the good life, we have surrendered the abundant life that Jesus offers. Jesus offers us the abundant life of joy and peace and love. And for many of us, we don't recognize that we have become so distracted and so anxious about so many other things that we have this opportunity to sit in the presence of Jesus and experience the abundant life of Jesus, and we forfeit it. We forfeit it for the busy life. Say it with me. Martha, Martha. Come on. Martha, Martha. Yeah. Turn to your neighbor. Look at him, go, Martha, Martha. Yeah. Because some of us need to own this, right? Some of us need to. So maybe right now I could get you to say to yourself, like I just said with the children, David, David, you are anxious and worried about many things. Mary has chose the better. Would that sound important to you right now? Just whisper that to yourself. Don't let your neighbor know you're doing it. Just kind of whisper to yourself. David, David, you are anxious and worried about many things. Mary has chose what is better. And here's the problem. We're kind of proud about being busy. I mean, we brag about being busy, don't we? How's it going? I'm busy. Yeah, how's it going? Oh, I'm really busy. I got this and got that, and I'm doing this, and I'm running here, and I got all these things in my hand. And there's a certain amount of pride to it. And it makes you wonder, are we really examining our lives and recognizing what we're using our time for, or are we planting more and more things in it because we think being busy is the thing to do? That's the life that we should live. Aren't we Americans getting into that kind of, the whole thing is about filling up your schedule and being as busy as possible and doing as much as possible and going as many places as possible? And have we, in the midst of grabbing for the good life, forfeited the abundant life of Jesus? Too busy. Too busy to pray. Too busy to go to church. Too busy to have family devotions. Too busy to even read to our children. Too busy to take vacations. Too busy to be in a growing relationship with others. Too busy to play. Too busy to even be in a relationship with my family. Our pride in being Martha has prevented us from experiencing what Mary did. What does it mean to sit at the feet of Jesus and to hear the words of abundant life? Now, everybody knows there's going to be a season of busyness, right? And everybody understands the importance of hard work. We're not trying to say these things are wrong. Nobody said that Martha was wrong. What Jesus said was, Mary has chose better. Better than being busy. I don't know about you, but in my mind, in my head, there's always this idea of hurry. hurry. I hear it all the time. Hurry, hurry. Got to get more done. Time is running out. You're not being productive. Over and over, I hear it. And sometimes I wonder if I think that I'm more valuable if I'm doing more. Anybody? Pay attention to our complaints. Old movies are too slow. Speakers are too long. Sorry about that. Fast food is too slow. Traffic lights, too long. Computers, too slow. Lines, too long. Letters. Is anybody sending letters anymore? Why? Too slow. Can you imagine 100 years ago telling people I could put a letter in the mail and it could arrive in 2 days? What they would have thought about saying that that's too slow? I mean, just think about it. Think about the days when we were doing Pony Express and you were grateful to get news 18 days later. Think what our grandparents would have thought about the way that we get information from the computer as quickly as we do, and we complain sometimes that our computers are too slow. Why? Because we have built into our mindset, hurry, hurry, hurry. I mean, quite frankly, what is the worst thing that you can hear? Wait. Does that not drive you nuts? In our house, it drives us nuts. Listen again. Martha, Martha. Say it with me. Martha, Martha. You are anxious and worried about many things. Here's what I'd like to suggest to us. Can we value being with Jesus more than being busy? Being with Jesus more than being busy. Can we place into our world prayer, worship, meditation, fasting, taking breaks, placing margin in our schedule, allowing ourselves to have a moment of peace? Would that enable us better to surrender our worries to the one who actually can take care of our worries? Because let's face it, most of what we're worrying about, we're not fixing anyways, right? What does it mean to us? The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. Does that not mean that I cast all my cares upon the shepherd, and I trust as the sheep that he will take me to the still waters and the green grass and the paths of safety, even in the dark shadows of death? What does it mean to you that the Lord is your shepherd? And here's what I know. If you're too busy to be merry, you cannot experience the love and trust that God gives to you in that moment. Consider what's distracting you. Come on, what's distracting us? We know what's distracting us. Facebook, video games, sports, text, snapshot, TV, people-pleasing. What's distracting you? And why is it distracting you? Why, in the midst of all your busyness, are these things a priority? Practice the gift of saying no. Everybody try that one time? 1, 2, 3. No. Some of you had trouble with that. Just saying no is a complete sentence. No to the less important things so that we can say yes to the most important thing. You hear me? And sometimes I cringe when I say this to people, because then people start coming up to me and say, I can't serve the church, I can't do this at church. I'm going to reduce that kind of, and they're saying, no, I say it with all love. If that's keeping you from Jesus, then that's what you need to say no to, right? If that's what's keeping you from Jesus, that's what you need to say no to. And how about this last one? Could we actually obey God's commandment and take Sabbath? A day of rest. A day in which we stop, recharge our batteries, contemplate, and delight in God. A full day surrendered to God. How would that change our Martha world? What do you think? What needs to change in your world, Martha? What can you do to slow down and be in the presence of Jesus? So here's what I want to do. I want to close this by actually practicing it. Are you okay with that? About 2 minutes of nothing. Have you gotten anxious already? About 2 minutes of nothing. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you, will you just silence your heart for a second? Will you press yourself to push away the distractions at this moment? The lunches, the next thing that's going to be on your schedule, the who's going to take me out, all that stuff that we worry about and fuss about. Can you just kind of shove it away for just a second? And can you sit here in silence for about 2 minutes? We're going to give you 2 minutes. We promise it's only going to be 2 minutes. And here's what I want you to do. Can you mentally find a place, okay? Just kind of in your mind, find a place that's safe and secure for you, that's pleasant and holy for you, where you can spend a moment with God. Can you mentally do that? Can you find that place in your mind that's just beautiful? Some people need to go to the park. Some people need to go to a waterside. Some people need to go to a special place in their head that says, here I'm safe, and here I can be with God. I want you to spend a moment inviting God into that place. The psalmist says, I wait quietly. I wait quietly. I wait quietly before God, for my salvation comes from Him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, I will never be shaken. So turn the engines off. Go to your quiet place with God and just rest for a moment and be quiet. Shh. Let's be with God.